Hi, I'm Melba Pearson, also known as the Resident Legal Diva, and it is time for another Daily Diddy, bringing you daily trial updates from the P. Diddy trial every day until we get a verdict. So this is now the beginning of week 2 of the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. And we started off today with a witness who used to be a member of Danity Kane by the name of Dawn Richard. She started testifying on Friday at about 3:30 and then came back this morning to resume her testimony. She was a group member of the group Danity Kane and also another group called Dirty Money. The Danity Kane was an all-girl group that Diddy created on MTV's Making the Band. And so she had some access and was privy to a lot of what happened behind the scenes with Cassie and Diddy. So she talked about a few instances that she saw that were quite disturbing. So one incident she talked about was an assault that she witnessed at the LA home of Diddy back in 2009. She said that Diddy basically came downstairs. She was downstairs with Cassie. Diddy came downstairs asking where his phone was. And then next thing you know, he attempted to kick her. She fell to the ground and literally curled up into a fetal position to try and protect her head. And he was just kicking her, beating her, and then grabbed her, put his arm around her neck, dragged her upstairs. And the next thing that the witness heard, Dawn Richards heard, was the shattering of glass. She was completely terrified. And the next thing that ended up happening is that the next day, Diddy threatened both her and Cassie, saying, you could go missing, that you could die, and basically no one's going to look for you. She was shocked. She was freaked out. She was scared. And she was just like, I can't believe that this is actually happening. She said that over the years, she saw Diddy brutalize Cassie in different ways. She also said that the numerous members of the staff of Bad Boy and basically all his employees knew what time it was. They witnessed the abuse and did absolutely nothing. So that goes towards the prosecution argument around racketeering, that basically he's this kingpin and was using his businesses to cover up his, bad acts. Basically, his employees were covering up for him. One very poignant moment in the trial is when she talked about how another time when Cassie had been brutalized before an event, she had a black eye, she had tons of makeup that she had to put on, and then she decided to wear sunglasses to try and cover it up. The other members of Danity Kane decided to stand in solidarity with her, and they all wore sunglasses together because she needed that support. Just heartbreaking. Oh my gosh. Quick correction, the band members that stood in solidarity with Cassie were from Dirty Money, because that was the band that was kind of happening at that time. Danity Kane had already disbanded. Anyway, so, there's that aspect. Also, Dawn Richards talked about the fact that Diddy would fly off the handle and it would be anything from Cassie speaking her mind, Cassie making a face, Cassie doing anything, he would beat her. The other thing is that he did not like when Dawn would speak to Cassie about her career and her being able to record another album. When was that coming? Diddy would always turn around and be like, she needs to wait her turn and this and that. Again, making it very clear he was in control of her career and he was in control of whether or not she was going to ever be able to move forward and record another album. Another aspect is that she testified that so many of the folks on Diddy's payroll, that there were security guards and folks that carried guns, carried weapons. And so again, that speaks to that environment and atmosphere of coercion, because again, people knew if they stepped out of line, or again, he's making threats that you could disappear, and then you turn around and you see a whole bunch of security dudes with guns, yeah, you kind of know what time it is. So there was that. The defense really tried to hammer Dawn Richards on the fact that she had filed a civil suit against Diddy and that she was looking for money. She was very much stood firm on that. She was looking for justice, and that's all it was. Now, she did, on 2 occasions, ask to still work with him even after the threats, which, again, not so great for her credibility. But at the same token, a reasonable explanation could be the fact that she already had this inroads with someone who was huge in the music industry, and if she can still get her album through Bad Boy, she'd be able to have success. So the next 2 witnesses were both reluctant witnesses, which I think really helps the prosecution. So the first one was Carrie Morgan, who used to be BFFs with Cassie, and she witnessed her being brutalized by Diddy over and over again. They were friends until Diddy attacked Carrie Morgan. Attacked her with a hanger, and it got to the point where she was vomiting. She had to go to urgent care, and she looked at Cassie like, yo, girl, you're not going to stand up for me? Your man just like beat me. And Cassie basically took Diddy's side. So she ended up being the go-between between Diddy and Carrie Morgan, and Cassie handed Carrie Morgan 30 grand to keep her quiet and her not move forward or prosecute or talk about the fact that Diddy beat her. So of course, that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and that was the end of their friendship. So she testified to that, and also the control that he had. Carrie Morgan also talked about the fact that Diddy would call Cassie like 50 times in a row if he didn't know where she was. He would also call Carrie Morgan over and over again if he didn't know where Cassie was. She also witnessed on 2 occasions Cassie be brutalized, once in LA and once in Jamaica, brutalized by Diddy. At one point, Carrie had tried to ask one of the security guards to intervene, like, do something. He's kicking her, he's beating her, do something. And they refused to intervene. Again, that speaks to that whole racketeering aspect, because again, his employees are covering up for him. And they know that he's engaged in criminal behavior, and they did nothing to basically stop it. So there's that aspect. She, of course, spoke about how she was encouraging Cassie to leave, but Cassie's like, listen, he pays my rent, he controls every aspect of my life, he controls my recording, I don't have a choice, I can't leave. So the last witness on the stand today, also reluctant, was David James. Now, he was the personal assistant for Diddy between 2007 and 2009. Now, much like the previous witness, both of them were like, listen, we moved on with our lives. We just want to put this all out of our minds. We don't even really want to talk about it. But they had to respond to the prosecution subpoena, so that's why they were in court. To me, that gives them more credibility, because they're not looking for anything. They're like, okay, I'm going to tell what I saw and leave me the hell alone, right? So some of what David James said today was that, it was almost like a cult of personality. He was talking about how one exec had said, this is Mr. Combs' kingdom, and we are all here to serve in it. Okay, there's that. And he also tried to tell Cassie that she should leave, and she said, he controls my career, pays my allowance, pays my rent. I have no choice.